The moment Ethan Cole pushed open the executive floor door at 11 p.m., he heard something he wasn't supposed to hear. The CEO of Grant Industries sobbing alone in her corner office. Everyone said Olivia Grant was untouchable, a woman who crushed competitors without blinking. But right then, she sounded broken. Ethan had two choices: pretend he heard nothing and walk away like a smart employee, or do something incredibly stupid that might cost him everything. He chose stupid. If you want to know what happens when a single dad janitor becomes the only person a powerful CEO can trust, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The fluorescent lights in the Grant Industries tower hummed their usual monotonous tune as Ethan Cole pushed his cleaning cart down the marble hallway of the executive floor. It was 10:47 p.m. on a Thursday, and the building should have been empty except for security and the handful of night shift workers like himself. Ethan preferred it this way: quiet, predictable, nobody asking questions or expecting conversation. He'd been working facilities management here for 8 months, and the routine suited him just fine. He was 32 years old and felt about 50 most days. His daughter Maya was 7, and between her school schedule, his work hours, and the perpetual exhaustion that came with single parenting, Ethan had learned to appreciate the small mercies of a job that let him fade into the background. The executive floor was his last stop each night: vacuum the carpets, empty the trash bins, wipe down the conference room tables, and get home by midnight if traffic cooperated. Tonight felt different the moment he stepped off the elevator. Usually, the floor was dark except for the emergency lighting. Tonight, a slice of yellow light cut across the hallway from the corner office. The big one. The one that belonged to Olivia Grant herself. Ethan paused, his hand still on the cleaning cart handle. The CEO never worked this late. At least, he'd never seen evidence of it in his 8 months of emptying her trash cans and vacuuming around her designer furniture. He should have turned around, should have taken the elevator back down and skipped this floor entirely, come back tomorrow when things were normal. But Ethan had spent the last 3 years of his life learning the hard way that running from uncomfortable situations only made them worse. So he pushed his cart forward, the wheels squeaking softly against the polished floor. That's when he heard it, crying. Not delicate sniffling or the quiet tears he sometimes heard in bathroom stalls when he cleaned the lower floors. This was raw, gasping sobbing, the kind that came from somewhere deep and damaged, the kind that hurt to listen to. Ethan froze 3 feet from Olivia Grant's open door. He'd seen her exactly twice in person. Once during his initial building orientation, where she'd given a 5-minute speech about excellence and company values that he'd barely listened to. Once in the lobby elevator where she'd been on her phone the entire ride and hadn't noticed he existed. In both instances, she'd been exactly what everyone said she was. Sharp suit, sharper eyes, the kind of woman who could fire someone before breakfast and not lose her appetite. The woman crying in that office didn't sound anything like that. Ethan knew he should leave. This was none of his business. This was his boss's boss's boss having what sounded like a complete breakdown. And the smart move, the safe move, was to back away quietly and pretend he'd never heard it. He had Maya to think about. He had rent due in 12 days and exactly $43 in his checking account until payday. He couldn't afford to make waves or draw attention or get involved in whatever corporate drama was unfolding behind that door. He'd actually started to turn his cart around when the crying shifted into words. "I can't do this anymore. I can't keep doing this alone." The voice was hoarse, desperate, completely human. Ethan's hand tightened on the cart handle. He thought about his ex-wife Jennifer, about the night she'd told him she couldn't do it anymore either. He thought about how he'd let her walk out without fighting, without really hearing what she was trying to say. He thought about Maya's face when she'd asked why Mommy didn't want to live with them anymore, and how he'd had no good answer because he'd been too scared and too proud to actually listen when it mattered. 3 years later, he was still learning what it meant to show up, to actually be present instead of just going through motions. To choose courage over comfort. Before his brain could override the decision, Ethan knocked on the doorframe. The crying stopped instantly. For 5 long seconds, there was complete silence. Then a voice, controlled now, professional, all traces of tears scrubbed away, called out, "The building is closed. Who's there?" "Facilities, ma'am." "Ethan Cole." "I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure everything was okay." More silence. Then, "I'm fine, you can go." Ethan should have gone. The dismissal was clear. But something in that carefully controlled voice made him stay put. "You don't sound fine," he said, and immediately regretted it. Who was he to challenge the CEO? But the words were already out there, and doubling back would only make it worse. "Excuse me? I just mean, look, I know this is weird and probably completely inappropriate, but I've been doing this job long enough to know what fine sounds like. And that wasn't it." He heard movement inside the office. Footsteps. Then Olivia Grant appeared in the doorway, and Ethan got his first real look at her up close. She was 30 or close to it, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail that had mostly come loose. Her white blouse was wrinkled, her eyes red and swollen. She'd been crying for a while, long enough that trying to hide it was pointless. She stared at Ethan like he was something completely outside her reference point, which he probably was. "You're the facilities manager," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am." "And you think it's appropriate to comment on your CEO's emotional state?" "Wote." "No, ma'am. It's definitely not appropriate, but I'm doing it anyway." Olivia's jaw tightened. For a moment, Ethan thought she might fire him on the spot. Instead, she let out a breath that sounded more exhausted than angry. "Why?" "Because nobody should cry alone like that," Ethan said simply. "I've done it. It sucks." Something shifted in Olivia's expression. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. She studied him for a long moment, this janitor in his company-issued blue shirt who was either very brave or very stupid, probably both. "You should go," she said finally, but her voice had lost its edge. "I should," Ethan agreed. "But if you want someone to just sit there and not say anything for a few minutes, I can do that. I'm pretty good at not saying anything." "You're talking right now." Fair point. Olivia almost smiled. Almost. Then she stepped back from the doorway. 10 minutes. Then you leave and we never mention this conversation again." "Deal." Ethan left his cart in the hallway and followed her into the office. It was bigger than his entire apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seattle skyline, furniture that probably cost more than his car, diplomas and awards covering one wall. Olivia sat down in one of the visitor chairs, not behind her massive desk. Ethan took that as permission to sit in the chair opposite her. For 3 minutes, neither of them spoke. Ethan kept his word about being good at silence. Olivia stared out at the city lights, her shoulders gradually losing some of their defensive tension. "My brother had a seizure this afternoon," she said suddenly. "He's okay now. They always say he's okay. But watching him shake like that, knowing I can't fix it..." She stopped, pressing her palms against her eyes. "Sorry, you didn't sign up for this." "Your brother has seizures?" Ethan asked carefully. "Cerebral palsy. He's 26. The seizures started 2 years ago." Olivia lowered her hands, her gaze still fixed on the windows. "I've been his primary caregiver since our parents died when I was 22. It's fine, I handle it, but today was hard, right?" Ethan thought about Maya, about how terrified he'd been the first time she'd gotten seriously sick on his watch, how helpless he'd felt watching her throw up in the emergency room at 2 in the morning, knowing there was nothing he could do except hold her hair and tell her it would be okay. "That sounds really hard," he said. Olivia looked at him then, really looked at him. "You're not going to tell me it's all part of some bigger plan? That everything happens for a reason? No, sometimes things just suck and there's no good reason for it." "Thank you." She sounded genuinely relieved. "Everyone always wants to find the silver lining. My board members think I should put him in a facility. More professional, they say. Better care. What they mean is that it would be more convenient for them if I didn't have to leave meetings for medical emergencies. But you won't do it." "He's my brother. He's the only family I have left. I'm not shipping him off so I can work longer hours for people who see him as an inconvenience." Her voice cracked slightly. "Even if some days I don't know how I'm going to keep doing both." Ethan nodded. "I get that. Different situation, but I get it. You have kids?" "A daughter, Maya. She's 7. "And her mother?" "Left 3 years ago. Said she couldn't handle being a parent, that it wasn't what she'd signed up for." Turns out I wasn't what she'd signed up for either. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. Took me a while to understand that I'd been so busy trying to be what I thought a husband should be that I never actually listened to what she needed. By the time I figured that out, she was already gone. I'm sorry." Don't be. It was probably the wake-up call I needed. I was a pretty terrible husband. I'm trying really hard not to be a terrible father. He smiled slightly. Some days I even succeed. Olivia studied him with an expression that was hard to read. Why are you telling me this? Because you told me about your brother. Seemed fair. I'm your boss. Yeah, but right now you're just someone having a bad day, same as anyone else. She shook her head slowly. I haven't been just someone in a very long time. That sounds lonely. It is. The admission seemed to surprise her. Everyone wants something. The board wants profits. My employees want direction. The media wants a story. My brother's doctors want signatures on forms. Nobody just wants... She stopped. Wants what? Nothing. Never mind. Ethan let the silence return. Through the windows, the Seattle skyline glittered like scattered diamonds. He checked his watch. His 10 minutes were almost up. He should leave. But something about the way Olivia was holding herself, like she was bracing against an invisible weight, made him ask one more question. When's the last time you ate something? She blinked. What? Food. When did you last eat? I had coffee this morning. That's not food. I'm fine. You keep saying that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Ethan stood up. There's a diner 2 blocks from here. Opens at 11, stays open until 3. Best terrible coffee in Seattle. You want to get out of this office for an hour? Olivia stared at him like he'd suggested they rob a bank. You're asking me to get coffee with you. I'm suggesting that sitting in this office alone isn't helping. The diner isn't helping either, probably, but at least they have pie. And this is insane. You work for me. Technically, I work for the facilities contractor your company hired. So really, we both work for the same massive corporate entity. Very democratic. That's not how corporate hierarchy works. Probably not. Ethan headed for the door, then paused. Offer stands for 5 more seconds. After that, I'm going home because my daughter has a soccer game at 8 tomorrow morning, and I need at least 4 hours of sleep or I'm useless. You're serious? 4 seconds. Olivia stood up abruptly. This is a terrible idea. Probably. 3 seconds. If anyone sees us, it's almost 11 p.m. and the diner is in the opposite direction from anywhere important. 2 seconds. Fine. She grabbed her jacket from the back of her chair. But we're not calling it coffee. We're calling it a strategic debrief. Whatever helps you sleep at night. They took the stairs instead of the elevator, some unspoken agreement that making this as invisible as possible was the smart play. Ethan's cart was still parked on the executive floor, which meant he'd have to come back later, but future Ethan could deal with that problem. Present Ethan was too busy trying to figure out what he'd just done and why. The diner was exactly what he'd promised, terrible and perfect in equal measure. The fluorescent lights were too bright, the booths were held together with duct tape, and the coffee tasted like someone had filtered it through an old shoe. But it was open, it was warm, and the waitress didn't care who you were as long as you tipped. They slid into a booth in the back corner. Olivia looked completely out of place in her designer jacket and jewelry, but she also looked more relaxed than she had in her office. Ethan ordered coffee and asked about pie. Olivia ordered tea and nothing else. You should eat, Ethan said. I'm not hungry. Your body doesn't care if you're hungry. It needs fuel. The waitress returned with their drinks and a knowing look. Honey, listen to him. Men are useless at most things, but they're usually right about food. She dropped a menu in front of Olivia. Grilled cheese is good. So's the soup. Be back in 5. Olivia watched her walk away. Does everyone just tell you their opinions? Pretty much. I have one of those faces. Ethan dumped 3 sugars into his terrible coffee. So, strategic debrief. What are we strategically debriefing? I have no idea. This was your terrible idea. Fair, how's your brother doing now? Olivia wrapped her hands around her tea mug. He's fine, resting. His aide stayed late to make sure he was settled. I probably overreacted earlier. Or you reacted exactly how someone would react when watching their brother have a seizure. I'm supposed to be better than that, stronger. Says who? Says everyone. Says the board. Says the business magazines that keep putting me on covers with headlines about being unshakable. She took a sip of tea, made a face. This is terrible. Told you. Best terrible coffee in Seattle. This is tea. The principle stands. Olivia set down her mug. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This, being nice to me. You don't know me. For all you know, I'm exactly as terrible as people say. Are you? I've fired 14 people in the last 6 months. I killed a product line that employed 30 more. I told my lead developer his code was embarrassing in front of the entire engineering team. Was it embarrassing? Yes, but I didn't have to say it like that. So you're human. Shocking. Olivia shook her head. You're very strange. I get that a lot. Usually from my daughter when I try to help with homework. Ethan leaned back in the booth. Look, I don't know you. You're right about that. But I know what it looks like when someone's drowning and pretending they're fine. I've been there. Hell, I'm probably still there some days. But I learned the hard way that you can't do everything alone, and pretending you can just makes the drowning worse. So this is what? Intervention by janitor? Facilities manager. And no, this is just coffee, or terrible tea, whatever you want it to be. The waitress came back. Olivia ordered grilled cheese without quite meaning to. Ethan ordered the same. When the food arrived 10 minutes later, Olivia ate like someone who'd forgotten what hunger felt like until the first bite reminded her. They talked about Seattle, how the rain never bothered Ethan but he hated the gray, how Olivia had moved here from California for college and never left. They talked about Maya's soccer team, which was terrible but enthusiastic, about Olivia's brother Michael, who loved old movies and could quote entire scenes from The Princess Bride. They didn't talk about work. They didn't talk about corporate hierarchy or the awkwardness of a CEO having grilled cheese with the facilities manager at midnight in a diner that smelled like old grease and broken dreams. They just talked. At 12:47 a.m., Olivia's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and immediately stood up. I have to go. Michael's aide. There's a problem. Is he okay? I don't know. I need to... She fumbled for her wallet. Go. I've got this. You don't have to... Go, Ethan repeated firmly. Take care of your brother. Olivia hesitated, torn between arguing and leaving. Leaving won. She was halfway to the door when she turned back. Thank you. For tonight. For listening. Any time. She almost smiled. Then she was gone, the diner door swinging shut behind her. Ethan paid the bill, left a generous tip he couldn't really afford, and walked back to the Grant Industries tower to retrieve his cleaning cart. The executive floor was dark and silent now, Olivia's office empty. He finished his rounds on autopilot, his mind replaying the last 2 hours. He'd done something monumentally stupid tonight. Inserted himself into his CEO's personal crisis, taken her to a diner, treated her like a normal person instead of the woman who could end his employment with a phone call. It was reckless and inappropriate and broke about 17 different professional boundaries. And yet, Ethan thought about that raw, desperate crying he'd heard through the office door. The way Olivia had looked when she talked about her brother, fierce and terrified in equal measure. The relief in her voice when he hadn't tried to find a silver lining or tell her everything happened for a reason. Sometimes people just needed someone to sit with them in the mess. No fixing, no advice, no judgment, just presence. He'd learned that lesson the hard way with Maya. The night she'd cried because her mother hadn't called on her birthday. Ethan had tried to fix it, to explain, to rationalize, to make it hurt less. Maya had just looked at him and said, Dad, can you just be sad with me for a minute? So he had. He'd sat on her bed and been sad with her, and eventually she'd fallen asleep with her head on his shoulder. And the next morning, she'd been okay. Not fixed, but okay. Maybe that's all tonight was. Just being sad with someone for a minute. Or an hour. Or however long it took. Ethan pushed his cart into the storage closet, clocked out, and drove home through empty Seattle streets. He had 4 hours until Maya's soccer game. 3 hours until he needed to wake up and start pretending he had his life together. But for those few hours in the diner, he'd felt like maybe he'd done something right. Something that mattered, even if it was completely insane. The soccer game was a disaster. Maya's team lost 7-2, and she spent the last 10 minutes crying on the bench because the other girls were mean to her. Ethan did what he always did, bought her ice cream, let her talk it out, reminded her that some days were just hard, and that was okay. Did you have a hard day at work? Maya asked, chocolate ice cream smeared on her chin. Not really. Kind of a weird night, actually. Weird good or weird bad? Ethan thought about it. Weird good, I think. Maybe. That's better than weird bad. Yeah, it is. They went home. Maya did homework. Ethan made dinner, spaghetti, because it was Saturday, and Saturday meant carbs. They watched a movie that Maya had seen 17 times but never got tired of. Normal, safe, predictable. At 9 p.m., Ethan's phone buzzed with an email from an address he didn't recognize. The subject line just said, "Thank you." The message was short. "Michael's fine. Medication adjustment. Thank you for tonight. I needed that more than I realized." OG, Ethan read it 3 times, trying to decide if responding was appropriate or just weird. He settled for simple. "Glad he's okay. Offer stands if you ever need terrible coffee again." He hit send before he could overthink it, then put his phone down and went back to the movie. Maya had fallen asleep on the couch, her head on his shoulder. He'd carry her to bed in a few minutes. For now, he just sat there, feeling the weight of her against him, solid and real and trusting. His phone buzzed again. "I might take you up on that." Ethan smiled at the screen, then tucked his phone away and focused on his daughter. Whatever happened next, if anything happened next, could wait until tomorrow. For tonight, this was enough. 3 days passed before Ethan saw Olivia again. 3 days of normal routine, cleaning floors, emptying trash, trying not to think about that midnight conversation in the diner. He told himself it was a one-time thing, a moment outside regular life that didn't mean anything beyond what it was. People had breakdowns. He'd offered basic human decency. End of story. Except it wasn't. Tuesday night, he found a note taped to his cleaning cart. Company stationery, handwritten in precise letters. Diner. Thursday. 11 p.m. if you're free. Oh, Ethan stared at the note for a solid minute, trying to decide if this was a good idea or a catastrophically bad one. Every rational part of his brain screamed bad idea. She was the CEO. He was facilities. There were rules about this kind of thing, even if those rules didn't technically apply to midnight diners and terrible coffee. But he thought about that desperate crying he'd heard, about how Olivia had looked when she talked about her brother, about how sometimes the right thing and the smart thing weren't the same thing at all. He went. She was already there when he arrived, sitting in the same booth they'd occupied before. She'd dressed down this time, jeans, a plain sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders instead of pulled back. She looked younger like this, less like a CEO and more like someone who might actually belong in a rundown diner at 11 o'clock on a Thursday night. "You came," she said when he slid into the seat across from her. "You asked." "I wasn't sure you would. After I sent that note, I thought maybe it was too weird, too presumptuous." "It was definitely both of those things," Ethan agreed. "But I'm here anyway." The same waitress from before appeared with 2 mugs of terrible coffee. She looked between them with knowing eyes but didn't comment, just dropped the mugs and disappeared again. Olivia wrapped her hands around her mug, a gesture Ethan was starting to recognize as her way of steadying herself. "I've been thinking about last week, about what you said, about drowning and pretending to be fine. And I think you were right. I've been pretending for so long that I forgot what not pretending feels like." She met his eyes. "That night here, talking to you, that was the first time in years I've had a conversation where someone wasn't trying to get something from me, or manage me, or fix me. You just listened." That's not exactly a superpower." "You'd be surprised how rare it is." Ethan took a sip of his coffee, winced at the taste, took another sip anyway. "How's Michael doing?" "Yeah, busty." "Better. The medication adjustment helped. He's been stable all week." Olivia's expression softened when she talked about her brother. "He asked about you, actually. He doesn't know me. I told him about that night, about how someone from the building helped me when I was having a rough time. He wanted to know if you were nice." She smiled slightly. "I said you were. He said I should be friends with you." "Smart kid?" "He's 26. Smart adult, then." Olivia laughed, and the sound was so unexpected and genuine that Ethan found himself smiling back. This felt easy in a way very little in his life felt easy. Comfortable. Like talking to someone who understood the weight of responsibility without needing it explained. "Can I ask you something?" Olivia said after a moment. "Sure." "Why did you knock on my door that night? The real reason. You could have just walked away." Ethan considered the question. He could give her the simple answer, the one about basic decency and not letting people suffer alone. But something about the way she was looking at him, genuinely curious, not judging, made him dig deeper. "My ex-wife left on a Tuesday," he said quietly. "I came home from work and she was just gone, took her stuff, left a note. The note said she couldn't do it anymore, couldn't be who I needed her to be. I was so angry at first, couldn't understand how she could just abandon Maya like that, abandon us. But about 6 months later, I was going through some old boxes and found her journal. She'd left it behind, maybe on purpose. I know I shouldn't have read it, but I did." Ethan stared into his coffee mug. Pages and pages of her feeling invisible, of trying to tell me she was struggling and me not hearing it because I was too busy trying to be the provider, the rock, whatever I thought a husband was supposed to be. She wrote about crying in the bathroom one night while I watched TV in the other room, about how alone she felt even when I was right there. "Ethan, I heard you crying that night and all I could think was, what if someone had knocked on the bathroom door when Jennifer was in there? What if someone had actually asked if she was okay instead of just assuming? Maybe it wouldn't have changed anything. Probably wouldn't have. But maybe she wouldn't have felt so alone in it." Olivia was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "You can't fix the past by fixing other people's present." "I know, but I can try not to make the same mistake twice. That's—" She stopped, shook her head. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Someone less honest, maybe. Someone who wanted something. I want my daughter to grow up seeing that people help each other, that you don't walk past someone who's hurting just because it's easier. Beyond that?" Ethan shrugged. "I'm just here for the terrible coffee." "Really is terrible. The worst." They ordered food, grilled cheese again, because apparently that was becoming their thing. While they waited, Olivia told him about her week. A board meeting that had gone badly, a product launch that was behind schedule, an interview with a business magazine where they'd asked her the same questions they always asked. "How do you balance it all? What's your secret?" She'd given them the same answers she always gave, the polished ones that made it sound manageable. "But the truth is, I don't balance it," she admitted. "I just put out whatever fire is biggest and hope the others don't spread too fast. This week it was the product launch. Next week Michael has appointments with 3 different specialists. The week after that, the board wants a full strategic review that I haven't started preparing for." "When do you sleep?" "Not as much as I should." "When do you—" Touché. The food arrived. They ate in comfortable silence for a while, the diner's fluorescent lights humming overhead. A drunk couple stumbled in and immediately started arguing about whose fault it was they'd missed the last bus. The waitress handled them with the weary efficiency of someone who'd seen it all before. "Can I ask you something now?" Ethan said. "Fair's fair, Shuktarthi." "Why me? You could have friends, real friends, people in your life who actually know you. Why are you having midnight diner sessions with your facilities manager?" Olivia set down her grilled cheese, considering the question. "Because you're the first person in years who's talked to me like a human being instead of a position. My friends from college drifted away after I took over the company. The people I work with now, they're colleagues, not friends. They see the CEO. They see what I can do for their careers or their departments. And the people I meet outside work, once they find out who I am, it changes. Suddenly, they're careful, calculated. Everyone wants something. And you think I don't want something? I think if you wanted something, you would have asked for it by now." She met his eyes. "You haven't asked me for anything. Not a promotion, not money, not even to skip cleaning your section of the building. You just showed up when I needed someone and asked for nothing in return. Do you know how rare that is?" Ethan thought about it. "Yeah, actually, I do." "Single parent thing?" Single parent thing. Everyone's got advice. Everyone's got opinions about how I should be doing it differently. But the people who actually show up and help without making it about them, I can count those people on one hand. Who's on the list? Maya's teacher, Mrs. Chen. My neighbor Don, who watches Maya for free when I have to work late. The guy at the corner store who lets me pay for milk on Friday when I'm broke on Wednesday. And my friend Carlos from high school, who calls every Sunday just to check in, even though he lives in California now and we haven't seen each other in 3 years. That's a good list. Yeah, small, but good. Ethan finished his coffee. You should have a list like that. I'm working on it. So far, it's just you and Michael and his aide Patricia, who's been with us for 4 years and actually cares about him instead of just doing the job. That's a start. It's a small start. Small's better than nothing. They stayed until almost 1 in the morning, talking about everything and nothing. Olivia told him about growing up in California, about parents who'd built their own company and expected her to be exceptional at everything, about taking over Grant Industries at 24 after they died in a car accident, about learning to run a company while grief was still raw and her brother's care needs were becoming more complex. Ethan told her about growing up in Seattle, about parents who were fine but distant, about drifting through his 20s working construction and bartending until Maya was born, and suddenly he had to figure out what being responsible actually meant. About the terrifying realization after Jennifer left that he was completely on his own with a 4-year-old who deserved better than his best guess at parenting. You seem like you're doing okay with it, Olivia said. Some days. Other days I'm Googling whether it's normal for 7-year-olds to only eat orange foods for a week straight. Is it? Apparently yes, kids are weird. Michael went through a phase where he'd only wear purple. For 6 months, everything had to be purple, or he'd have a meltdown. Our parents thought he was just being difficult. Turns out it was sensory processing stuff related to his CP. Purple clothes felt different to him, softer. Did you get him purple clothes? I got him so many purple clothes. His entire wardrobe looked like someone had murdered Barney. Olivia smiled at the memory. He still likes purple best. His room is lavender and grape and violet. It makes him happy. You're a good sister. I'm a sister who's trying. There's a difference. Not as much as you think. When they finally left the diner, the Seattle streets were empty and quiet. Ethan walked Olivia to her car, a sleek sedan that probably cost more than he'd make in 5 years. She paused with her hand on the door handle. Same time next week? She asked. You want to make this a regular thing? Is that weird? Definitely weird. But Ethan thought about Maya's advice to be friends with nice people, about how he'd told himself he was done running from things that felt right just because they were complicated, about how easy it had been to talk to Olivia tonight, how natural it felt despite every reason it shouldn't. But I'm free Thursday night, Sas, he said. Olivia smiled, a real smile, not the polished CEO version. Thursday nights it is. Yes. She drove away and Ethan walked back to his car, wondering what exactly he'd just agreed to. Regular midnight meetings with his CEO seemed like a recipe for disaster, but it also felt like the first genuinely good decision he'd made in a long time. The week started to fall into a rhythm. Ethan worked his normal shifts, did his normal routes, and every Thursday at 11 he met Olivia at the diner. They never talked about work. They talked about Maya's school struggles and Michael's doctor appointments, about bad movies and worse coffee, about the weight of responsibility and the loneliness of always being the one who had to be strong. It should have stayed simple, should have stayed contained to those Thursday nights in a diner where nobody knew either of them and nothing that happened there touched the rest of their lives. Then Michael's aide, Patricia, had a family emergency. Ethan got the text on a Wednesday night while he was helping Maya with homework. Patricia's mother had a stroke. She's flying to Phoenix tomorrow. Need to find backup care for Michael, and I have no idea where to start. Sorry to dump this on you. He stared at the message, trying to figure out the right response. This felt like crossing a line from diner conversations into actual involvement in Olivia's real life. The smart thing would be to send a sympathetic response and stay out of it. Instead, he called her. Hey, Olivia answered on the second ring. She sounded exhausted. You didn't have to call. How long will Patricia be gone? At least a week, maybe 2. I'm trying to find a substitute aide, but the agency can't get anyone until Monday, and I have a crucial presentation tomorrow that I can't miss, and Michael's schedule is complicated, and she stopped, took a breath. Sorry, not your problem. What time's your presentation? 2 p.m. Why? I'm off work at noon tomorrow. I can watch Michael for the afternoon. Silence. Then, Ethan, no. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I'm offering. You don't know anything about disability care. Michael needs, so tell me what he needs. I'm a single parent of a 7-year-old. I can follow instructions. Ethan glanced over at Maya, who was supposed to be doing math but was obviously listening to his side of the conversation. I've got Maya tomorrow afternoon too, but she's good with people. It'll be fine. This is too much to ask. You didn't ask? I offered. There's a difference. More silence. Then, quietly, why are you doing this? Because that's what friends do. And you said Michael wanted us to be friends, right? So, friends help each other. Ethan, text me your address. I'll be there at noon. He hung up before she could argue more, then looked at Maya. She was grinning at him. What? He said. You have a friend who needs help. Yes. Is she nice? Very nice. Then we should help her. Maya said it like it was the simplest thing in the world, which maybe it was. Can I bring my coloring books? Sure, Bug. Coloring books are good. Olivia's apartment turned out to be in a high-rise downtown, the kind of building with a doorman and marble floors and elevators that move so smoothly you barely felt them. Ethan felt completely out of place walking through the lobby in his work clothes with Maya skipping beside him, her backpack stuffed with coloring books and snacks. Olivia met them at her door. She'd clearly been up for hours, professional clothes, perfect makeup, but her eyes had that exhausted look that no amount of concealer could hide. She stared at Maya like she'd forgotten Ethan had mentioned bringing her. Hi, Maya said brightly. I'm Maya. Dad says your brother likes movies. I like movies too. Do you have popcorn? Olivia blinked. Yes, I have popcorn. Cool. Yeah. Ethan put a hand on Maya's shoulder. Maybe let's start with introductions before we get to snacks. Olivia stepped back to let them in. The apartment was exactly what Ethan had expected. Modern, expensive, spotlessly clean. But it was also clearly lived in. Medical equipment in one corner, a specialized wheelchair by the window, photos on the walls of Olivia and a young man who had to be Michael. The photos showed them at various ages, kids at the beach, teenagers at what looked like a concert, recent shots of them at dinner or watching movies. In every photo, Olivia was looking at her brother with the same expression, fierce protectiveness mixed with genuine love. Michael's in his room, Olivia said. He knows you're coming, but he's nervous about meeting new people. It might take him a few minutes to warm up. That's okay, Maya said. I'm nervous about meeting new people too, but then they're usually nice and it's fine. Olivia looked at Ethan. He shrugged. She's better at this stuff than I am. They followed Olivia down a hallway to a bedroom that was indeed various shades of purple. Michael was in his wheelchair by the window, a tablet in his lap. He looked up when they entered, and Ethan could see the resemblance to Olivia immediately. Same dark hair, same sharp eyes. Michael's body was twisted in ways that spoke to his cerebral palsy, one hand curled against his chest, but his expression was alert and curious. Michael, this is Ethan and his daughter Maya, Olivia said gently. They're going to hang out with you this afternoon while I'm at my meeting. Is that okay? Michael's eyes moved from Ethan to Maya and back. When he spoke, his words were slow and slightly slurred, but clear enough. Liv says you're nice. We try to be, Ethan said. Do you like The Princess Bride? It's one of my favorites. Mine too. Michael's face lit up. Have you seen it a lot? Probably 20 times. I've seen it 47 times. Michael said this with obvious pride. Then he looked at Maya. Do you like it? I haven't seen it yet, Maya admitted. Is it good? Michael's eyes went wide. You haven't? Liv, she hasn't seen The Princess Bride. I know, Olivia said, fighting a smile. Tragic, right? We should watch it. Can we watch it? Michael looked at Ethan hopefully. That's up to your sister. Olivia checked her watch. I have to leave in 10 minutes. Michael, did you take your morning medication? Yes. And you'll tell Ethan if you need anything, if you feel weird or tired or, Liv, I'm fine, go to your meeting. We're going to watch The Princess Bride and it's going to be awesome. Olivia hesitated, torn between responsibility and trust. Ethan recognized the look. He wore it every time he had to leave Maya with someone new. I've got this, he said quietly. I have your number. Michael has Patricia's emergency contact list. We'll be fine. His medication schedule is on the fridge. If he seems confused or dizzy, I'll call you. I promise. Olivia looked at Michael, then at Ethan, then at Maya, who was already pulling coloring books out of her backpack. Finally, she nodded. Okay, I'll be back by 5. She kissed Michael's forehead. Be good. I'm always good. You're sometimes good. Fine, I'm sometimes good. After Olivia left, the apartment felt quieter. Michael watched Ethan with cautious curiosity, while Maya spread her coloring books across the coffee table like she owned the place. So, Ethan said, The Princess Bride. Should I make popcorn first? Always popcorn first, Michael said seriously. That's the rule. Yeah. They watched The Princess Bride. Michael quoted every line, his face glowing with joy when Ethan and Maya laughed at the right parts. Maya declared it the best movie she'd ever seen and immediately asked if they could watch it again. Michael looked at Ethan hopefully. Let's take a break first, Ethan suggested. What else do you like to do? I like to draw, but it's hard. Michael held up his twisted hand. My hands don't work right. Can I see your drawings? Michael directed him to a folder on the desk. Inside were dozens of sketches. Messy, childlike, but clearly made with care. Superheroes and spaceships and what looked like portraits of Olivia. These are great, Ethan said honestly. They're not good like real artists. They're good like you, that's different. Maya had wandered over to look. I like this one. She pointed to a drawing of a purple dragon. Can I color one? I'm really good at coloring. Michael's face went uncertain. You want to color my drawing? Only if that's okay. I won't mess it up, promise. Okay, yeah, that would be cool. They spent the next hour with Maya carefully coloring Michael's dragon drawing while he watched and gave feedback on which purples to use. Ethan made sandwiches that nobody ate because they were too focused on the artwork. When the dragon was finished, Michael asked if he could keep it. It's yours, Maya said. I just colored it. You made it. We made it together. Then it's ours together. Michael smiled wider than Ethan had seen all afternoon. Nobody ever wants to do art with me. They think I can't because my hands are different. Your hands work fine, Maya said with the blunt certainty of a 7-year-old. They just work different. That's okay. Lots of things are different. Ethan felt something crack open in his chest. His daughter, his weird, wonderful daughter who only ate orange foods and asked too many questions, had just given this kid something nobody else had thought to offer. Not pity, not help, but partnership. When Olivia came home at 5, she found all 3 of them on the living room floor. Michael and Maya were coloring another drawing while Ethan read the instructions on Michael's medication schedule, making sure he had the afternoon doses right. How did it go? Olivia asked carefully. We watched The Princess Bride and made art, and Michael taught me about spaceships, Maya reported. It was really fun. Can we come back? Olivia looked at Michael. Did you have fun? So much fun. Maya's my friend now, and Ethan makes good sandwiches even though nobody ate them. We'll eat them later, Ethan promised. He stood up, brushing off his jeans. How was the presentation? Good. Really good, actually. I could focus because I knew Michael was okay. Olivia's voice caught slightly. Thank you, both of you. You didn't have to do this. Friends help friends, Maya said, like she was quoting someone, which she was. Ethan had said it to her 100 times. Yeah, Olivia said softly. They do. They stayed for dinner, pizza that Olivia ordered, eaten around the coffee table while Michael told Maya about every movie in his collection. At 8, Ethan said they needed to leave because Maya had school tomorrow. Maya made Michael promise they could color together again. Michael made her promise to watch more movies with him. In the elevator down, Maya leaned against Ethan's side. I like Olivia and Michael. Yeah? Yeah, they're nice, and Michael's funny. He knows all the words to every movie. That's so cool. It is pretty cool. Are we going to help them again? Probably, if they need us. Good. Maya yawned. I like helping people. It feels nice. Ethan kissed the top of her head. Yeah, Bug, it does. That night, after Maya was asleep, Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. Michael hasn't stopped talking about Maya. He asked if she could be his friend for real, not just for today. I didn't know what to tell him. Ethan typed back, Tell him yes. Maya already decided they're friends. When she decides things like that, they're pretty much non-negotiable. Thank you. For today. For all of it. Anytime. A pause. Then, I mean it. Thank you for showing up. That's what friends do, Ethan wrote, and hit send before he could overthink it. Because somewhere between midnight diners and terrible coffee and watching his daughter color dragons with a kid who needed someone to see past his disability, Ethan had stopped thinking of Olivia as his CEO. She was just Olivia, someone trying her best with impossible circumstances, someone who needed friends as much as he did. And if that was crossing professional boundaries, if that was complicated and messy and potentially stupid, well, Ethan had learned that the right things usually were. Patricia came back after 10 days, but the pattern had already shifted. Maya started asking every weekend if they could visit Michael. Ethan found himself texting Olivia random things during the day, a funny sign he'd seen, a question about what 7-year-olds actually needed to know about fractions. She'd text back with her own observations, complaints about board meetings, photos of Michael doing something that made her laugh. The Thursday diner sessions continued, but now they felt like part of something bigger instead of isolated islands of honesty. Ethan started noticing things about Olivia that contradicted everything her public image suggested. She was funny in a dry, unexpected way. She second-guessed herself constantly about Michael's care, convinced she was failing him even when she clearly wasn't. She ate her grilled cheese in exactly 6 bites, always, like she'd calculated the most efficient method and stuck to it. "That's weird," Ethan said one night, watching her execute the 6-bite routine with perfect precision. "What's weird?" "The way you eat. It's like you're performing surgery on that sandwich." Olivia looked down at her plate, then back at him. "I've always eaten like this. Since I was a kid. 6 bites feels right. Most people don't count." "Most people aren't running a Fortune 500 company while trying to keep their brother alive and healthy." "Fair point, that's..." She set down the last bite, leaving it uneaten. "My parents used to tell me I was too rigid, too controlled. They wanted me to be more spontaneous, more flexible. But being controlled is how I survived after they died. Structure keeps things from falling apart." "Structure's good," Ethan said. "But you left that last bite." "I always leave the last bite." "Why?" Olivia stared at the abandoned piece of grilled cheese. "I don't know. Control, I guess. Proving I can stop before something's finished, that I'm not..." She stopped. "Not what?" "Not desperate. Not out of control. Not the mess I sometimes feel like inside." Ethan reached across the table and ate her last bite. She stared at him. "What are you doing?" "Eating your food. You weren't going to." "That's not the point." Sure it is. The point is that sometimes you need someone to show you it's okay to not finish things perfectly. That the world doesn't end if you break your own rules." He grinned. "Plus it tasted good and I was still hungry." Olivia shook her head, but she was almost smiling. "You're impossible. I get that a lot." Things felt easy between them now. Natural. Like they'd known each other for years instead of weeks. Ethan caught himself thinking about her at odd moments, wondering what she'd think of something Maya said, whether she'd had a good day, if Michael's latest doctor appointment had gone okay. It felt comfortable and dangerous at the same time, this sliding from strangers to friends to something that didn't have a clear name yet. Then the crisis hit. It was a Tuesday morning when Ethan got called into his supervisor's office. Dale Freeman was a decent guy, former military, ran facilities management like a ship that needed to stay afloat through sheer discipline and order. He looked uncomfortable when Ethan walked in, which immediately set off alarm bells. "Sit down, Cole," Dale said. Ethan sat. "What's going on?" "I got a call from HR yesterday about you and Miss Grant." The bottom dropped out of Ethan's stomach. "What about us?" "Apparently, someone saw you two at a diner, multiple times, late at night, and you were spotted leaving her apartment building a few weeks ago." Dale leaned back in his chair. "Want to tell me what's going on?" "We're friends," Ethan said carefully. "That's all. Friends." "Yes. The CEO of this company is friends with one of our facilities managers." "Is that against policy?" "You know damn well it creates problems, perception problems. What happens when someone claims you're getting special treatment? When someone says you're only keeping your job because you're sleeping with the boss?" "I'm not sleeping with her." "Doesn't matter. The appearance is enough." Dale ran a hand over his face. "Look, I like you. You're a good worker. You show up on time. You don't cause problems. But this thing with Grant, it's a liability for you and for the company. So what are you saying? I'm saying you need to shut it down. Whatever's happening between you two, it ends. Or I have to let you go. Ethan's hands clenched on the arms of his chair. You're threatening to fire me for having coffee with someone. I'm protecting the company from a potential lawsuit. If this relationship goes south and she claims harassment, or you claim favoritism, or any of a dozen other scenarios, we're all screwed. So yeah, I'm telling you to end it. That's the deal. Chapi. Gochipurum bosin. And if I don't? Dale's expression hardened. Then we'll find a reason to terminate you within the month. Won't be hard. Everyone breaks a rule eventually. We'll just start watching until you do. Ethan stood up. His whole body felt cold and tight. Is that legal? You want to lawyer up over coffee dates with your boss? Be my guest. But you know how that ends. You'll spend money you don't have fighting a battle you won't win, and you'll still be unemployed at the end of it. Dale's voice softened slightly. Walk away, Cole. It's the smart play. The smart play? Ethan repeated numbly. Yeah, sometimes that's all we get. Ethan left the office and made it to his car before the shaking started. He sat in the parking garage, gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe through the panic. He needed this job. Maya's school fees were due next month. The car needed new brakes. He had $47 in savings and a daughter who depended on him to keep their world stable. And walking away from Olivia was the price of that stability. He didn't call her right away. Spent 2 days trying to figure out how to explain it, what words would make sense of the impossible choice he was being forced to make. But Olivia texted him first. Thursday still good? I found an even worse diner. Ethan stared at the message for 10 minutes before typing back. Can we meet earlier? I need to talk to you about something. Is everything okay? Not really. Can you do 6 p.m.? I'll be there. She was already in the booth when he arrived, and the worry on her face made everything worse. Ethan slid into the seat across from her and tried to find a way to start this conversation that wouldn't feel like he was ripping something important into pieces. What happened? Olivia asked before he could speak. My supervisor called me in yesterday. Someone saw us together, multiple times. They think we're... He stopped, started again. They're saying it's a conflict of interest, that I'm getting special treatment, or that we're involved in ways that create liability for the company. Olivia's face went very still. Are they threatening your job? They gave me a choice. Stop seeing you or they find a reason to fire me. That's illegal. Maybe, probably, but fighting it would cost money I don't have and time I can't afford. And even if I won, I'd still be the guy who sued his employer. Nobody wants to hire that guy. Ethan forced himself to meet her eyes. I can't lose this job, Olivia. I can't put Maya through that instability. I'm barely making rent as it is. So you're ending this. Her voice was flat, carefully controlled. I don't want to, but I don't know what else to do. You could fight back. I could fight back. I'm the CEO. You can what? Tell them you're friends with the facilities manager and they need to back off? That makes it worse. That proves we're exactly what they're worried about. Ethan's hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against the table. This was always going to be complicated. We knew that. We just didn't want to admit it. So that's it. You're just walking away. I'm protecting my daughter. That's what I have to do, Schatz. Olivia's expression cracked then, pain bleeding through the control. Right. Of course. Your daughter. That's more important than... She stopped, looked away. I understand. Olivia? No, you're right. You have priorities, responsibilities. I get it. She grabbed her jacket, started sliding out of the booth. I should go. Wait, please. She paused, not looking at him. I'm sorry, Ethan said quietly. This isn't what I wanted. But it's what you're choosing, but it's what I have to choose. Olivia finally looked at him, and the expression in her eyes gutted him. Do you know what the worst part is? I actually believed you were different, that you'd stick around. Everyone always leaves, Ethan. Everyone finds a reason. Usually it's that Michael's too much work, or I'm too demanding, or they just can't handle the pressure. But you, I thought you understood. I thought you saw past all the complicated parts to something worth staying for. I do. I did. But not enough. She stood up fully now. Not enough to actually fight for it. So yeah, you're just like everyone else. You're just better at pretending you're not. She was gone before Ethan could respond, the diner door swinging shut behind her. He sat there alone, staring at the empty seat across from him, feeling like he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life, while simultaneously knowing it was the only choice he could make. The waitress came over. You want coffee? Oh. No, thanks. I'm leaving. Lover's quarrel? Something like that. For what it's worth, she looked at you like you mattered. Don't see that much anymore. Ethan paid for 2 coffees they hadn't ordered and drove home. Maya was at his neighbor's place, doing homework and eating Dawn's terrible attempt at spaghetti. Ethan picked her up, thanked Dawn, got Maya home and into bed. She asked why he seemed sad. He said he was just tired. She made him promise to sleep better. He promised, knowing he wouldn't. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, Ethan ran through every possible scenario, quitting and finding another job, but that meant no income while he searched, and he'd still need a reference from Grant Industries. Fighting the ultimatum, but that meant lawyers and money and burning bridges he couldn't afford to burn. Asking Olivia to help, but that just proved everything the company was worried about and put her in an impossible position. Every path led to the same conclusion. Walking away was the only option that kept Maya's world stable. And stability was what she needed. She'd already lost her mother. She couldn't lose her home, too. He texted Olivia in the morning. I'm sorry for all of it. I hope you and Michael are okay. She didn't respond. The silence stretched into days. Ethan went to work, did his job, avoided the executive floor. Maya asked about Michael twice. Ethan told her they were busy right now. She accepted this with the easy faith of a 7-year-old who believed adults had good reasons for their decisions. Ethan felt like he was walking through fog. Everything was muted and distant. He'd made the right choice. The responsible choice. So why did it feel like he'd carved out something essential and left it bleeding in a diner booth? On Thursday night, he drove past the diner without stopping. The lights were on. He wondered if Olivia was inside, waiting for someone who wouldn't show. Probably not. She was smarter than that. She'd already written him off as another person who left when things got difficult. And maybe she was right. Friday morning, Ethan was cleaning the third-floor bathrooms when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Mr. Cole? A woman's voice, professional and clipped. Yes? This is Margaret Chen from Grant Industries Human Resources. I need you to come to my office immediately. Ethan's stomach dropped. Is there a problem? We need to discuss your employment status. How soon can you be here? I'm in the building. I can be there in 10 minutes. Make it 5. She hung up. Ethan stood there, phone still pressed to his ear, trying to breathe. This was it. They'd found their reason. He was being fired, and Maya's stability was about to crack into pieces. He made it to HR in 4 minutes. Margaret Chen was exactly what her voice suggested. Mid-50s, perfectly professional, the kind of person who'd probably never had a messy emotion in her life. She gestured him to a chair without preamble. Mr. Cole, we've received a complaint about your conduct. From who? That's confidential. But the allegation is that you've been pursuing an inappropriate relationship with Ms. Grant. Specifically, that you've been using your position to gain access to her, and that you've been seen leaving her residence on multiple occasions. That's not, we're friends. That's all. So you admit to having a personal relationship with the CEO. We've had coffee a few times. I helped with her brother when his aide was out of town. There's nothing inappropriate about it. Margaret folded her hands on her desk. Mr. Cole, I'm sure you understand that the appearance of impropriety is just as damaging as actual impropriety. A facilities manager having regular contact with the CEO outside of work creates complications. So what are you saying? I'm saying that effective immediately, you're being transferred to a different location, one of our satellite offices across town. Different building, different management structure, no interaction with Ms. Grant. Your pay and benefits remain the same. Consider it a lateral move. Ethan stared at her. You're moving me to get me away from Olivia. I'm resolving a potential HR issue in a way that protects all parties involved. What if I don't want to transfer? Then we'll have to discuss whether this position is still a good fit for you. Margaret's expression didn't change. The transfer paperwork is already prepared. You start at the new location Monday morning. I suggest you accept it. And if I want to talk to Ms. Grant about this, Ms. Grant is aware of the situation and has agreed that this is the appropriate resolution. Ba pisos wati. The words hit like a punch. Olivia knew. She'd agreed to this. She was sending him away just as surely as the company was. Fine, Ethan said. I'll take the transfer. Excellent. You'll receive the details by email within the hour. Margaret stood, clearly dismissing him. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Cole. Ethan walked out of HR in a daze. He made it to his car before the anger hit. Olivia had agreed to this. She'd let them shuffle him off to another building like he was a problem that needed solving instead of a person she claimed to care about. She'd accused him of walking away, but she was the one who'd signed the paperwork. He drove to her building without thinking it through, parked illegally in front, and took the elevator to the executive floor. Her assistant tried to stop him, but he walked past her and straight into Olivia's office. She was on the phone. She looked up when he entered, her expression flickering from surprise to something that might have been pain before settling into professional neutrality. She ended her call. Ethan, you shouldn't be here. You agreed to the transfer. I did what I had to do. You told me I was walking away, that I was like everyone else who left. And then you did exactly the same thing. Olivia stood up, her hands pressed flat on her desk. I protected your job. They were going to fire you. I negotiated the transfer so you'd still have income, still have benefits. I kept you employed. You pushed me away. Show it. I kept you safe. Her voice cracked. Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I wanted to sign paperwork that guaranteed I'd never see you again? But what was the alternative? Let them destroy your career because we had coffee together? We could have fought it and lost. We both know how that ends. Olivia's shoulders sagged. This way you get to keep supporting Maya. You get to keep your stability. Isn't that what you said you needed? What about what you need? Well, what I need doesn't matter. It never has. That's not true. Isn't it? My parents needed me to take over the company. Michael needs me to keep him safe and healthy. The board needs me to make profitable decisions. You needed me to fix this situation so your daughter wouldn't suffer. Everyone needs something, and I give it to them, and then they leave anyway. She looked away. At least this way you're leaving with your life intact. Sachmet? John? Ethan wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was wrong, that this wasn't the same, that he cared about her as more than just someone who could solve his problems. But standing in her office, seeing the exhaustion and resignation in her face, he realized she was already gone. She'd already written this ending. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for all of it. Me too. He left before he could make it worse, before he could say something that would hurt them both more than they were already hurting. He drove to his new work location, looked at the building that would be his prison for however long he could stand it, and tried to figure out how everything had fallen apart so completely. Maya cried that night when he told her they couldn't visit Michael anymore. She didn't understand why, and Ethan couldn't explain it in terms that made sense to a 7-year-old. People drift apart. Sometimes friendships end. The words felt hollow even as he said them. But Michael's my friend, Maya sobbed. And Olivia was nice. Why can't we see them? It's complicated, Bug. That's what adults always say when they mess things up. She wasn't wrong. The weekend was miserable. Ethan tried to distract Maya with a trip to the zoo, but she just moped around looking at animals without really seeing them. He tried making her favorite orange foods. She picked at them. Finally, on Sunday night, she looked at him with red-rimmed eyes and said, You liked Olivia, didn't you? Yeah, I did. More than just friends? Ethan considered lying. Decided Maya deserved better. Yeah, more than just friends. Then why did you stop? Because sometimes things get complicated and you have to make hard choices. Did you make the right choice? I made the safe choice. That's not the same thing. No, it really wasn't. Monday morning, Ethan started at the new location. Different building, different crew, different routine. Everything felt wrong. The supervisor was fine, the work was identical. But every time he pushed his cleaning cart down a hallway, he thought about the executive floor at Grant Industries. About finding Olivia crying in her office, about Thursday nights and terrible coffee, and the way she'd looked at him like he was someone worth knowing. He'd chosen safety, chosen stability, and it felt like dying by inches. 3 weeks passed. Maya stopped asking about Michael, but she didn't stop being sad about it. Ethan went through motions: work, home, parenting, sleep. He thought about calling Olivia 100 times. Never did. What would he even say? Sorry I chose my daughter's security over whatever we were building? Sorry you agreed to push me away? Sorry we both got exactly what we thought we wanted and it turned out to be completely wrong. Then on a Thursday night, Ethan drove past the diner again. He'd been avoiding it, but tonight something pulled him there. Muscle memory, maybe. Or just the need to sit in the place where things had felt right before they'd fallen apart. The diner was nearly empty. He took their usual booth and ordered terrible coffee. The waitress remembered him. Where's your girl? Gone. That's a shame. She looked at you like you hung the moon. Babosha Matsitsosamanski. Nope. Yeah, well, sometimes the moon falls down anyway. It. Borseka Messing. He was halfway through his coffee when someone slid into the seat across from him. Ethan looked up, and there she was. Olivia, looking exhausted and sad and real. Hi, she said. Hi. I was driving past. Saw your car. She wrapped her hands around the mug the waitress had automatically brought her. Couldn't make myself keep going. How are you? Terrible. You? Same. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Olivia said, Michael won't stop asking about Maya. He doesn't understand why she doesn't visit anymore. I've tried explaining, but he just keeps saying she promised they were friends. Maya's devastated. She thinks she did something wrong. She didn't. Neither did you. Olivia's voice was rough. I've been thinking about what you said, about making the safe choice versus the right choice. I think we both chose safety, and I think we were both wrong. My job, I quit. Ethan stared at her. What? I gave my notice yesterday. 4 weeks and I'm done with Grant Industries. Olivia, you can't. That's your company, your whole career. It's a job. One that was eating me alive. She met his eyes. I've been CEO since I was 24. I've given that company everything, my 20s, my 30s, every ounce of energy I had. And for what? So the board can police who I'm friends with? So I can keep sacrificing pieces of my life to make other people comfortable? I'm done. What are you going to do? Baichu, yinan parasu. I don't know yet. Figure it out as I go, I guess. But I know I can't keep living like this. Isolated, controlled, alone. Her hands tightened on her mug. That night in my office when you found me crying, I was breaking down because I realized I had built this perfect, successful life that was completely empty. And then you knocked on my door, and for the first time in years, I felt like someone actually saw me. Not the CEO, not Michael's sister, just me. I did see you. I do. Then why did we let this die? Because I was scared. Because protecting Maya felt more important than fighting for something that seemed impossible. And now I'm realizing that maybe the impossible things are the ones worth fighting for. That maybe showing Maya it's okay to take risks for things that matter is better than teaching her to always play it safe. Ethan leaned forward. But you shouldn't have quit your job for this. For me. I didn't quit for you. I quit for me. You were just the wake-up call that helped me see what I was doing to myself. Olivia smiled slightly. Though I'd be lying if I said you weren't part of the equation. What about the conflict of interest? Not my problem anymore. In 4 weeks, I'll just be someone who used to work at Grant Industries. And you'll just be a facilities manager at a satellite office who happens to know my brother really likes purple and terrible movies. That's it? That simple? Nothing about this is simple, but maybe it doesn't have to be as complicated as we're making it. Ethan thought about Dale's ultimatum, about choosing safety over everything else, about Maya asking if he'd made the right choice and him having no good answer. I have 4 weeks left too, he said slowly. What? What? I've been thinking about quitting, getting a different job. Something with normal hours so I can actually be present for Maya instead of working nights and missing everything. I just didn't have the guts to actually do it. He looked at Olivia. But if you can walk away from your whole career, I can probably manage to find a different janitorial position. You're serious? Yeah, I think I am. Tris. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. This is insane. We're both quitting our jobs because of coffee dates and terrible diners. We're quitting our jobs because we're both tired of being safe instead of happy. Happy's not guaranteed. No, but it's worth trying for, das. They stayed until the diner closed, talking through possibilities and fears and what came next. Ethan told her about a facilities supervisor position he'd seen at a hospital, better pay, and day shifts. Olivia told him about consulting offers she'd been ignoring for years, chances to work on her own terms instead of the board's. When they finally left, Olivia walked him to his car. Can I see Maya and Michael together again? She asked. I think they both need it. This weekend? Yeah, this weekend sounds perfect. Ethan wanted to kiss her. The impulse was sudden and overwhelming. But this was fragile still, newly rebuilt from broken pieces. So instead, he just said, Thursday nights? Thursday nights, Olivia agreed. For as long as we both want them. That might be a while. Good. Ethan drove home feeling lighter than he had in weeks. He'd quit his job tomorrow. Would figure out what came next. Would probably panic about money and stability and all the things responsible parents were supposed to worry about. But tonight, he just felt like maybe, for the first time in years, he was choosing something because it was right instead of because it was safe. And that had to count for something. Maya screamed when Ethan told her they could visit Michael again. Actually screamed, then burst into tears, then hugged him so hard he couldn't breathe. She spent the next 2 days making a welcome back card covered in purple glitter and drawings of dragons. Do you think he'll remember me? She asked for the 100th time as they drove to Olivia's apartment Saturday morning. Bug, it's been 3 weeks. Of course he remembers you. But what if he made new friends and doesn't want to color with me anymore? Then you'll make new art together, or watch movies, or do something else. Ethan glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Friends don't stop being friends just because they can't see each other for a while. Is that why you and Olivia are friends again? Because you didn't stop even when you couldn't see each other? Out of the mouths of 7-year-olds, yeah, something like that. Michael's reaction was even bigger than Maya's. He started crying the moment he saw her, then laughing, then trying to hug her while his arms didn't quite cooperate. Maya just wrapped herself around his wheelchair and held on like she'd never let go. I missed you so much, Michael said through tears. I thought you forgot about me. I could never forget you. You're my best friend. Really? Really, really. Olivia stood in the doorway watching them, her own eyes wet. When she looked at Ethan, something passed between them that didn't need words. This was worth fighting for. These two kids who'd found each other across every difference and just decided to be friends, no complications, no questions. They're going to be insufferable together, Olivia said. Absolutely. I have no idea how to entertain 2 kids for an entire day. You have 17 seasons of terrible sitcoms and a kitchen full of snacks. You'll be fine. They ended up watching The Princess Bride again because Michael insisted Maya needed to see it at least 40 more times to properly appreciate it. Olivia made popcorn. Ethan made sandwiches that everyone actually ate this time. Somewhere around the sword fight scene, Maya fell asleep against Michael's wheelchair, and he fell asleep with his head tilted toward her. And Ethan looked at Olivia across the room and felt something settle in his chest that had been restless for weeks. Come here, Olivia mouthed silently. He crossed to where she stood by the window. The Seattle skyline stretched out below them, gray and drizzling as always. She took his hand, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. I gave my official notice yesterday, she said quietly. The board's scrambling to find a replacement. They offered me double my salary to stay. What did you say? I said no amount of money is worth being this miserable. They didn't take it well. She smiled slightly. Margaret from HR looked like I'd personally insulted her life choices. To be fair, you kind of did. I kind of did. Olivia leaned against him just slightly, testing. He put his arm around her shoulders and she relaxed into it. I'm terrified, Ethan. I've been the CEO for so long I don't know who I am without it. What if I made a huge mistake? What if I can't figure out what comes next? Then you'll figure it out messy, like everyone else does. I don't do messy well. You're doing it right now. Seems like you're managing. She looked up at him. Am I? Managing? Well, you're here. You're breathing. You haven't spontaneously combusted from lack of structure. I'd say that counts. The bar is very low. Welcome to normal life. The bar is always low, and we're all just trying to clear it. Olivia laughed softly. They stood like that for a while, watching the kids sleep and the rain streak the windows. Eventually she said, "What about you? Did you talk to your supervisor?" "What?" "Gave my 2 weeks this morning. Dale tried to talk me out of it, said I was throwing away a steady job for no good reason. I told him I had a very good reason, just not one I felt like explaining." "Do you have another job lined up?" "Interview Tuesday at Seattle General Hospital. Facilities supervisor position, day shift, better pay. My buddy Carlos knows someone in their HR department who put in a good word." Ethan squeezed her shoulder. "Might actually get to have dinner with Maya during normal hours. Be at her school events. Radical concept. What if you don't get it?" Then I'll find something else. I've been broke before. I know how to make ramen stretch." "That's not a plan." It's the only plan I've got right now." He looked down at her. "We're both jumping without nets here. That's terrifying. But staying where we were? That was worse." "Was it, though? I had security, income, purpose. You had misery and isolation and a board of directors who thought your brother was an inconvenience." Ethan turned her to face him. "Look at Michael right now. Look at how happy he is. When's the last time you saw him like that?" "Mo ozisi isi is." Olivia looked at the kids, still tangled together in sleep. "Not since before our parents died. Maybe not even then. That's worth more than any salary. I know, I do. It's just, what if I can't do this? What if I'm only good at being the controlled, perfect CEO and everything else falls apart?" "Then it falls apart, and we figure it out. Together." "Together," Olivia repeated. "That's new for me." "Yeah, me too." She kissed him then. Just a soft press of lips, tentative and sweet and absolutely terrifying in how right it felt. When she pulled back, her eyes were wide. "Sorry, I should have asked. Don't apologize." Ethan kissed her back slower this time, meaning it. "Definitely don't apologize. The kids are asleep. This is probably too fast." "Probably. We should be smart about this. Take it slow, not complicate things." "Olivia." "Yes?" "Shut up and kiss me again." She did. And for the first time in longer than Ethan could remember, something felt completely, perfectly right. Maya woke up 20 minutes later and immediately announced she was hungry. Michael woke up and agreed. The spell broke, and they were back to being responsible adults dealing with children who needed feeding. But something had shifted. Some wall had come down. When Olivia's hand brushed Ethan's in the kitchen while making more sandwiches, she didn't pull away. When he smiled at her across the table while the kids argued about which movie to watch next, she smiled back with something that looked like hope. They stayed until late afternoon. When Ethan said they needed to leave, Maya launched into negotiations about when they could come back. Michael joined in. Soon both kids were tag-teaming them with the kind of logical arguments that would have made lawyers proud. "Tomorrow?" Maya suggested. "Maya, we can't." "Why not? It's Sunday. We don't have anything." "Michael has therapy in the morning," Olivia said. "What about after therapy?" Michael asked. "I have meetings with my replacement all week." "But not Sunday afternoon," Michael pointed out. "Afternoons are free." Olivia looked at Ethan helplessly. He shrugged. "They're not wrong, but you're supposed to be on my side. I'm on the side of two kids who clearly missed each other." He grinned. "Plus, I make really good spaghetti. I could bring dinner." "This is a terrible idea." "Probably. But we're already committed to terrible ideas. Might as well be consistent." What? So Sunday afternoon found Ethan back at Olivia's apartment with ingredients for spaghetti and Maya carrying a bag of purple streamers she'd insisted they needed to decorate Michael's room. Olivia opened the door looking exhausted. "Rough morning?" Ethan asked. "Therapy ran long. Michael had a hard session. He's been quiet since we got back." "What?" "Boltashkis." In the living room, Michael was in his wheelchair, staring out the window. He didn't turn when Maya came in, didn't react when she said his name. She looked back at Ethan, worried. Is he okay? Sometimes he gets like this after therapy, Olivia said quietly. They work on exercises that are frustrating for him. Reminders of what his body can't do. Takes him a while to come back. Maya walked over to Michael's wheelchair. She didn't try to hug him or force conversation, just sat down on the floor next to him and pulled out her coloring books. I brought the dragon we made, she said. I thought maybe we could make another one. A purple one this time, since that's your favorite. But if you don't want to, that's okay too. I can just color by myself and you can watch if you want. Michael was silent for a long moment. Then quietly, purple with silver wings. Okay, purple with silver wings. That sounds really cool. They colored in silence while Ethan started on dinner and Olivia answered emails on her laptop. It was domestic and comfortable and completely surreal. 3 weeks ago, Ethan had been certain this would never happen again. Now here they were, falling into rhythms that felt like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. The spaghetti was almost done when Michael spoke again. My therapist asked if I had friends today. Maya looked up from her coloring. What did you say? I said I had one friend, a really good one. She said that was nice, that friends are important. He paused. Then she asked if it was hard having a disability when my friend doesn't. What did you tell her? I said I don't think about it like that. You're just Maya and I'm just Michael and we like the same stuff. The other things don't matter. They don't, Maya agreed. You're my best friend. The wheelchair doesn't change that. Some kids at the park say I'm weird, that I talk funny and move wrong. Those kids are stupid. Maya, Ethan warned from the kitchen. Well, they are, Maya insisted. Michael's not weird. He's just Michael, and the way he talks is fine. I understand everything he says. Sometimes I wish I was normal, Michael said quietly. What's normal? Everyone's different. My dad says different is good. It means we're interesting instead of boring. Did he really say that? Maya looked at Ethan. Didn't you say that? Yeah, Bug, I said that. See, my dad's smart about stuff sometimes. Michael almost smiled. Just sometimes? Oh, the rest of the time he makes terrible jokes and burns toast. I heard that, Ethan called. You were supposed to. Maya turned back to Michael. Want to help me with the wings? I can't get the silver right. They bent over the coloring book together, and just like that, the dark mood lifted. Olivia caught Ethan's eye across the room and mouthed, "Thank you." He shook his head. This wasn't him. This was Maya being exactly who she was, kind and uncomplicated and willing to sit with someone in their hard moments without trying to fix them. Dinner was chaotic. Michael needed help cutting his spaghetti and kept getting frustrated when his hands didn't cooperate. Maya tried to help and accidentally knocked over his water. Olivia jumped up to clean it and bumped the table, sending her own plate sliding. Ethan caught it one-handed while simultaneously preventing the sauce bowl from tipping. They all froze, then burst out laughing. We're disasters, Olivia said. The best kind of disasters, Ethan replied. After dinner, they watched a movie Maya had picked, something animated and loud that Michael had never seen. He quoted along anyway, making up dialogue that was funnier than the actual script. Maya laughed so hard she got hiccups. Olivia leaned against Ethan on the couch, her hand finding his like it belonged there. This was what Ethan had been missing without knowing it. Not perfection, not easy, just real. People who showed up for each other. People who stayed even when things got messy. When it was time to leave, Michael made Maya promise to come back next weekend. She made him promise to save all his best movie quotes for her. They sealed it with a pinky swear that took 3 tries because Michael's fingers didn't quite work right. Maya didn't care. She just kept trying until they got it. In the car, Maya was quiet for a while. Then, Dad? Yeah, Bug? Do you like Olivia? Like, really like her? Ethan considered how to answer, settled on honesty. Yeah, I really like her. Good, because I think she really likes you too. She looks at you the way you look at her. How do I look at her? Like she's important. Like she matters. Maya paused. Like how you look at me. Ethan's throat tightened. You're the most important person in the world to me. You know that, right? I know. But there's room for other people too. Ms. Chen says hearts grow bigger when we love more people. They don't get divided up. They just expand. Ms. Chen's a smart lady. She is. So if you want to love Olivia, that's okay. I won't be mad or sad or anything. I like her too. And Michael's my best friend. So we'd be like a family, kind of. A weird one, but still a family. Ethan had to pull over because his eyes were blurring. He turned to look at his daughter, this incredible, wise, generous kid who kept teaching him how to be better. When did you get so smart? He asked. I've always been smart. You just don't always notice. I notice now. Good. Maya unbuckled her seatbelt and climbed into the front seat to hug him, which was definitely against safety rules, but Ethan allowed it anyway. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Bug. So much. They sat there for a while, just holding each other. Then Maya climbed back into her seat, buckled up, and announced she was hungry again even though they'd just eaten. Because she was still 7, still his kid, still delightfully normal despite her occasional moments of profound wisdom. The week that followed was a blur of transitions. Ethan's interview at Seattle General went better than expected. They offered him the job on the spot, day shift facilities supervisor, decent pay, benefits that actually covered things. He'd start in 2 weeks, right after his notice at the satellite office ended. Olivia's departure from Grant Industries was messier. The board tried to change her mind 3 more times. When that failed, they tried to make her exit difficult, questioning her decisions, auditing her expense reports, generally making her final weeks as unpleasant as possible. She came to Thursday night dinner looking ready to murder someone. They're children, she said, stabbing her grilled cheese with unnecessary force. Petty, vindictive children in expensive suits. How much longer? 1 week. 7 more days, and I never have to see their faces again. And then what? Then I figure out who I am when I'm not CEO of anything. She set down her fork. I have 3 consulting offers. All of them want me to start immediately. All of them pay more than I made at Grant. But they all want the CEO version of me, the one who works 80 hours a week and makes ruthless decisions and prioritizes profit over everything else. And I don't want to be her anymore. So don't be. It's not that simple. Why not? Olivia stared at him. Because I don't know what else to be. That's all I've been for 8 years. You're Michael's sister. You're someone who makes terrible jokes and counts bites of food and quotes bad movies. You're someone who cried in her office because she was drowning and someone who showed up at a diner because she couldn't drive past. You're already more than just a job title. Those things don't pay for Michael's care, or rent, or anything else. So take a consulting gig, but take one that lets you have a life outside of work, one that doesn't own every piece of you. Ethan reached across the table. You're allowed to want things for yourself, not just for Michael or the company or anyone else. For you. What do I want for myself? I don't know. What do you want? Olivia was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. I want to wake up without dread. I want to have dinner with my brother without checking my phone 17 times. I want to go to a movie in the middle of the day just because I want to. She stopped. Want to what? I want to see where this thing between us goes without it being complicated by work or policies or other people's opinions. Then let's do that. It's scary. Yeah, but worth it. She squeezed his hand. How are you so sure? Because the last 3 weeks without you were miserable, and the last week with you has been the best week I've had in years, even counting the parts where everything's uncertain and terrifying. Those weeks with you still beat the ones without you. That's... Olivia's eyes filled with tears. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Then people have been saying the wrong things. Ma? She kissed him there in the diner booth, not caring that the waitress was watching or that other customers might see. When she pulled back, she was smiling. I'm taking the consulting offer from Warren and Associates. They only want 20 hours a week and I can work from home. It's a third of what the other offers pay, but it's enough for Michael's care and rent and everything else. And it gives me time to figure out what else I want. Time to be more than just someone's employee. Sounds perfect. Sounds terrifying. Same thing, really. Olivia's last day at Grant Industries fell on a Friday. Ethan took the afternoon off from his own job and met her outside the building when she emerged for the last time. She was carrying a box of personal items, photos of Michael, a coffee mug someone had given her years ago, a plant that had somehow survived despite her neglect. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Like I just jumped off a cliff. Good jump or bad jump? Or ask me when I hit the ground." They went to the diner. Same booth, same terrible coffee, but everything felt different now. Lighter. Like they'd both been carrying weights they'd finally set down. "Michael wants to have a party," Olivia said. "To celebrate me being unemployed. He thinks it's hilarious that I don't have to go to the office anymore." "What kind of party?" "The kind with pizza and purple decorations and movies. He's already planning the guest list. You and Maya are at the top." "When?" "Tomorrow." "Is that too soon?" "Tomorrow's perfect." The party was exactly what Michael had envisioned. Chaotic and loud and perfect. Maya and Michael made a banner that said, "Congratulations on quitting," in purple letters. Patricia brought cupcakes. Ethan brought more pizza than any 5 people could eat. They watched 3 movies back to back and nobody complained. At some point during the second movie, Maya fell asleep on the couch next to Michael. Olivia covered them both with a blanket, then sat down next to Ethan on the floor. "I have something to tell you," she said. "Good something or bad something?" "Depends on your perspective." She took a breath. "Warren and Associates wants me to do a project overseas in Singapore. 6 weeks, maybe 8. They'll cover all expenses, and it's the kind of work I'm actually interested in. Sustainable business development, corporate ethics, things that matter. But it means being gone. A lot." Ethan's stomach dropped. "When?" 3 weeks from now." "That's soon." "I know, and I can say no. I probably should say no. It's too soon to leave Michael. Too soon to—" She gestured between them. "Whatever this is. What do you want to do?" "I want to go. The project is everything I've been looking for. Meaningful work, reasonable hours, actual impact. But I don't want to abandon Michael, and I don't want to mess this up." She looked at him. "With you, I don't want to mess us up." Well, Ethan thought about it. About Maya's wisdom regarding hearts expanding. About his own fear of risk versus his fear of regret. About what it meant to really show up for someone. "Go," he said. "What?" "Go to Singapore to do the project. It's important to you. You should do it." "But Michael, I'll help with Michael. Me and Patricia and whoever else he needs. We'll figure it out." "Ethan, that's too much to ask." "You're not asking. I'm offering." He took her hand. "You've spent 8 years putting your life on hold for everyone else. Your parents' company, Michael's care. All of it. This is a chance to do something for yourself. Take it." "What about us?" "We'll still be here when you get back. 6 weeks isn't forever. And if this thing between us is real, if it's worth anything, it'll survive you being gone." Olivia was crying now. "You're sure?" "I'm terrified, but yeah, I'm sure. Hey, I don't deserve you." "That's the exhaustion talking. You deserve someone who shows up, who stays, who doesn't make you choose between your life and theirs. I'm trying to be that person. You already are." She kissed him, and Ethan held on tight, trying to memorize the feeling. 6 weeks. He could do 6 weeks. They could do 6 weeks. When they told Michael the next day, his reaction surprised everyone. "You should go," he said immediately. "Michael, it's a long time. Liv, you never go anywhere. You never do anything except work and take care of me. You should go. I'll be okay. But what if Ethan will help, and Patricia and Maya can visit? We'll be fine." Michael looked at his sister seriously. "You're allowed to have your own life. I don't want to be the reason you don't." Olivia pulled him into a hug, crying into his shoulder. Pulled him. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just don't always notice." Ethan and Maya exchanged glances. Apparently wisdom ran in both their families. The 3 weeks before Olivia left passed in a blur of planning and preparation. Patricia agreed to take on extra hours. Ethan rearranged his new work schedule to be available for Michael's doctor appointments. Maya made Olivia a goodbye card covered in purple glitter and drawings of airplanes. The night before Olivia's flight, they had dinner at her apartment. Just the 4 of them. Michael insisted on making pasta, which meant Ethan actually made pasta while Michael supervised and gave increasingly ridiculous directions. Maya set the table with elaborate place cards she'd created. Olivia just watched, trying to memorize every detail. After dinner, Michael and Maya retreated to his room to watch movies. Ethan and Olivia stood on her balcony, watching the Seattle skyline fade into evening. "I'm going to miss you," Olivia said. "I'm going to miss you too." "What if this is a mistake? What if I get there and everything falls apart here? Then you come home and we pick up the pieces, together. You make it sound simple." "It's not simple, but it's doable." Ethan turned her to face him. 6 weeks, that's all. Then you come back and we figure out what's next. No pressure, no expectations, just seeing where this goes." "What if I don't want to come back?" The question hung between them. Ethan forced himself to answer honestly. "Then you stay, and we figure that out too. I'm not going to hold you hostage to my life plans. If Singapore is where you need to be, then that's where you should be." "And us?" "There's this new invention called video chat. Apparently it's very advanced." Olivia laughed through tears. "You're impossible. You keep saying that." "Because it keeps being true." She kissed him like she was trying to memorize the feeling, like she was already half gone and trying to hold on to this moment before everything changed again. Ethan kissed her back the same way, both of them scared and hopeful in equal measure. Inside, they could hear Maya and Michael laughing at whatever movie they'd chosen. The sound was light and real and proof that good things could exist even when the future was uncertain. "Thank you," Olivia whispered, "for showing up, for staying, for being willing to do this even when it's complicated. Thank you for letting me, for trusting me with Michael, for not running when things got hard. I ran once. We both did. But we came back. That's what matters." They stood there holding each other until Maya called that it was time to go. Tomorrow, Olivia would fly to Singapore and everything would change again. But tonight they had this: the balcony and the city and each other. It would have to be enough. The airport was crowded and loud, and Ethan hated every second of being there. Olivia stood at the security checkpoint with her carry-on, looking simultaneously excited and terrified. Michael had stayed home with Patricia. Goodbyes were hard for him, and airports were overwhelming. But Maya had insisted on coming, had made Olivia promise to text pictures from Singapore, had hugged her 3 times already. 6 weeks, Olivia said, like she was trying to convince herself. Sati. 6 weeks, Ethan agreed. Then you're back. What if everything's different when I get back? Then we deal with different. We're pretty good at that by now. She kissed him one more time, quick and desperate, then knelt down to hug Maya. Take care of Michael for me, Olivia said. I will. And you have to bring me back something purple. Michael said Singapore has really cool purple stuff. I'll find the most purple thing in the entire city. Promise? Promise. Then she was gone, through security and into the terminal, and Ethan stood there with Maya's hand in his, watching until Olivia disappeared into the crowd. His chest felt hollow. 6 weeks had sounded manageable in theory. In practice, watching her walk away felt like losing something essential. Dad, are you sad? Maya asked. Yeah, Bug. A little. But she's coming back, right? That's the plan. Then it's okay to be sad. Ms. Chen says it's okay to miss people. It means they matter to you. Ethan squeezed her hand. Ms. Chen's right. They drove home through morning traffic, Maya chattering about school and soccer and whether Michael would want to watch a new movie this weekend. Normal life, continuing on despite the absence. Ethan tried to focus on that, the routine, the stability, the things that didn't change just because Olivia was on a plane to the other side of the world. His phone buzzed as they pulled into their apartment complex. A text from Olivia. Boarding now. Already miss you both. Tell Michael I'll call tonight is time. Ethan wrote back, safe flight. We'll be here when you land. The first week was the hardest. Ethan had underestimated how much space Olivia had carved out in his daily life. He'd catch himself thinking of something to tell her, reaching for his phone before remembering the time difference. Singapore was 15 hours ahead. When he was making Maya breakfast, Olivia was getting ready for bed. When he was finishing his shift at the hospital, she was just starting her workday. They video called when they could. Olivia looked exhausted but energized, talking about the project with genuine enthusiasm. She was helping a tech company restructure their ethics policies. working with people who actually cared about doing things right instead of just maximizing profit. It was everything she'd wanted. Ethan was happy for her. He was also lonely in ways he hadn't expected. Michael handled it worse. The second week, he had 3 seizures in 4 days. Stress-induced, the doctor said. Change was hard for him, and Olivia being gone counted as major change. Ethan started spending more time at the apartment, helping Patricia manage the increased care needs. Maya came with him, setting up her homework at Michael's desk, while Ethan handled medication schedules and doctor's calls and all the small crises that came with disability care. "I'm sorry," Ethan told Olivia during one late-night video call. "I know you're trying to focus on work, and I keep calling with Michael updates. Don't apologize. I want to know. I need to know." She looked wrecked. "Is he okay? Really? He's managing. The new medication adjustment seems to be helping. He had a good day today. He and Maya made art for 3 hours straight. I should come home. Olivia, he needs me. I shouldn't have left. This was selfish." "It wasn't selfish, and Michael doesn't want you to come home early. He told me yesterday that you deserve to finish your project, that he's proud of you for doing something just for yourself." "He said that?" "Word for word. Then he made me promise not to tell you about the seizures because he didn't want you to worry." Ethan smiled slightly. "So technically I'm breaking that promise right now, but I figured you should know." What? Olivia pressed her hands to her face. "I hate this. I hate being so far away. I hate that you're dealing with everything alone." "I'm not alone. Patricia's here. Maya's here. We're a team. And Michael's okay, Liv. I promise. He's okay." She didn't look convinced, but she nodded. 4 more weeks. 4 more weeks. Then you're home and we figure out what's next." What came next arrived faster than expected. 3 weeks into Olivia's Singapore project, Warren and Associates offered her a promotion, senior partner, full-time position, based in their Singapore office. The pay was incredible. The opportunity was everything she'd ever worked for, and it meant staying overseas indefinitely. She told Ethan on a video call at 2 a.m. his time. He was exhausted from a double shift covering for a sick coworker, and the news hit him like a physical blow. "They want an answer by Friday," Olivia said. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "It's everything I wanted professionally. The work matters. The team respects me. I'm not just the CEO who makes ruthless decisions. I'm actually helping companies do better. Be better." "That's amazing," Ethan said, trying to mean it. "But it means not coming home." "Yeah, and I don't know what to do. Michael needs me. You and Maya." She stopped. "I don't want to lose what we're building, but this opportunity won't come again." Ethan wanted to tell her to stay in Singapore, to take the job and build the life she deserved, but his chest was tight with the unfairness of it. He'd just found her, just started believing something good could actually last, and now she was being pulled away by an opportunity he couldn't compete with. "What do you want?" he asked instead. "I want both. I want the job, and I want to come home. I want my career, and I want Michael, and I want you and Maya, and I can't have all of it." Her voice cracked. "Why can't I have all of it?" "I don't know. Tell me what to do." "I can't do that. This has to be your choice." "But what do you want me to choose?" Ethan looked at her through the pixelated video feed. This woman he'd met crying in her office, who'd sat with him in terrible diners, who'd trusted him with her brother and her heart. He wanted to tell her to choose him, to choose them, to come home and build this fragile, imperfect thing they'd started. But that would be asking her to give up everything she'd worked for. And he'd watched Jennifer sacrifice her dreams for his stability once before. He knew how that story ended. "I want you to choose what makes you happy," he said finally. "Not what you think you should choose. Not what's safest or most responsible. What actually makes you happy? I don't know what that is anymore." "Then take the weekend. Think about it. Figure out what your life looks like in 5 years and which path gets you there." Olivia wiped her eyes. "What if I choose wrong?" "Then you choose different later. Nothing's permanent except what we decide is." They talked for another hour, going in circles, not solving anything. When they finally hung up, Ethan sat in his dark apartment staring at his phone. Maya was asleep in her room. The world was quiet. And Ethan felt like he was watching something important slip through his fingers without knowing how to hold on. Friday came. Olivia didn't call. Ethan worked his shift at the hospital, picked up Maya from school, made dinner, helped with homework, put her to bed. Normal routine while his insides churned with waiting. At 11 p.m., his phone finally buzzed. I said no. Ethan stared at the message, typed, "To the job? To Singapore. I'm coming home. Flight lands Tuesday morning." Olivia, if you said no because of me, I said no because I missed Michael's seizures, because I wasn't there when he needed me, because Maya sent me 17 text messages about school and I missed being part of her life, because every night I go to sleep in a hotel room thinking about a diner in Seattle and a man who saw me crying and didn't walk away. You could have had everything. I already have everything. It's in Seattle. I was just too scared to admit it. Ethan called her immediately. She answered on the first ring. "You're sure?" he asked. Terrified, but yes, I'm sure. "What about your career?" "Warren wants me to head their Seattle office. Part-time consulting, my own client list, work I actually care about. It's not senior partner in Singapore, but it's enough. And it lets me be home. With Michael. With you. With Maya." She paused. "If that's what you want, that's absolutely what I want. Even though I'm complicated and control-obsessed and eat my sandwiches in exactly 6 bites, especially because of that." She laughed, and the sound was pure relief. "I'll see you Tuesday." "I'll be at the airport." "With Maya?" "With Maya. And probably with Michael if Patricia thinks he can handle it." "I'd like that. I'd really like that." Tuesday morning arrived gray and drizzling, typical Seattle weather. Ethan had taken the day off work. Maya had convinced her teacher to let her miss school for important family business. Patricia had agreed that Michael could handle the airport if they kept it short. They stood at arrivals holding a banner Maya had made that said, "Welcome home, Olivia," in purple letters, waiting. When Olivia finally emerged from the terminal, she looked exhausted and rumpled and absolutely perfect. She saw them and stopped, her face crumpling with emotion. Then she was running, actually running, and Michael was laughing and Maya was screaming and Ethan was wrapping his arms around all of them at once in a collision of people who'd somehow become family. "You came," Olivia said through tears. "Of course we came, Sae," Maya said. "We missed you so much." "Did you bring me something purple?" Michael asked. Olivia pulled a small package from her bag. Inside was a purple silk scarf with silver embroidery. Michael's face lit up like Christmas morning. "It's perfect," he breathed. "Just like you," Olivia said, kissing his forehead. They drove back to Olivia's apartment, all of them squeezed into Ethan's car that wasn't meant for 4 people and luggage. Maya narrated everything Olivia had missed, soccer games and school projects, and the new movie she and Michael had found. Michael added commentary. Patricia had the apartment ready, dinner warming in the oven, everything prepared for Olivia's return. That night, after Patricia had left and Maya and Michael were asleep in Michael's room after an impromptu movie marathon, Ethan and Olivia sat on her balcony watching the city lights. "I was scared you wouldn't come back," Ethan admitted. "I was scared I'd come back and you'd realize you were better off without me." "That's not possible." "Isn't it? Your life was stable, predictable. Then I showed up and made everything complicated. My life was empty," Ethan corrected. "Stable and predictable and completely empty. You didn't make it complicated. You made it full." Olivia leaned against him. "I don't know what happens next. I start the Seattle position in 2 weeks. Michael's care is getting more complex. I'm going to mess up and be too controlling and probably drive you crazy. Probably. And I'm going to mess up and second-guess myself and worry too much about Maya. We're both disasters. The best kind? What? Sam bin mas. Exactly the best kind." She kissed him, and it felt like coming home, like all the broken pieces finally clicking into place. It wasn't perfect. Nothing about their situation was perfect. But it was real, and it was theirs, and it was enough. The next few months weren't easy. Olivia struggled with her new work-life balance, kept trying to control everything, had to learn how to delegate and trust. Ethan struggled with letting someone into his carefully managed world, had to learn how to ask for help instead of handling everything alone. They fought about stupid things, who was picking up Maya from school, whether Michael needed a new specialist, how to split time between their two apartments. But they also figured things out. Slowly, messily, imperfectly. Ethan started keeping clothes at Olivia's place. Maya started calling it our place instead of Olivia's apartment. Michael started asking when they were all going to live together for real instead of just pretending. 6 months after Olivia came back from Singapore, they were having dinner at the apartment. All 4 of them, plus Patricia, who'd become part of their extended family. Maya and Michael were arguing about which movie to watch next. Patricia was telling a story about Michael's latest therapy session. And Ethan looked around the table at these people who'd somehow become his world and felt something settle in his chest. This was it. This was what he'd been missing. Not perfection, not easy. Just people who showed up, who stayed, who chose each other every day despite all the reasons not to. "What are you thinking about?" Olivia asked quietly. "Just that I'm happy." "Yeah?" "Yeah, really happy." She took his hand under the table. "Me too." A year after that midnight encounter in the office, Ethan stood in a different building doing a different job with a completely different life. Maya was 8 now, still collecting friends and purple things and wisdom beyond her years. Michael was healthier, still had seizures but managed them better. Still quoted movies and made art with his best friend. Patricia had become part of their daily routine, someone they couldn't imagine life without. And Olivia had learned how to do work she cared about without sacrificing everything else. Had learned that asking for help wasn't weakness. Had learned that she could be more than just CEO or caretaker. She could be herself, messy and complicated and human. They still went to the diner on Thursday nights. Still ordered terrible coffee and grilled cheese. Still talked about everything and nothing. But now they went home together afterward. Now their separate lives had merged into something that looked like family. Imperfect and chaotic and absolutely right. Ethan thought about that night often. About hearing Olivia crying and making the choice to knock instead of walk away. About how one small moment of courage had led to everything that came after. About how easy it would have been to choose safety instead of risk, isolation instead of connection. He'd spent 3 years after Jennifer left believing that protecting Maya meant keeping their world small and controlled. But Maya had taught him something better. That hearts expand when you let people in. That family isn't just who you're born to, but who you choose and who chooses you back. That sometimes the messiest, most complicated things are the ones most worth fighting for. Michael had a seizure one night in October. Ethan was at the apartment when it happened, had helped Patricia manage it, while Olivia was stuck in traffic coming home from a client meeting. Afterward, when Michael was resting and Patricia had left, Olivia fell apart in the kitchen. "I can't keep doing this," she sobbed. "I can't keep watching him suffer and being unable to fix it." Ethan held her while she cried, didn't try to fix it or find silver linings or tell her everything would be okay. Just held her the way she'd needed someone to hold her that night in her office. The way everyone needed someone to hold them when the weight got too heavy. "You're not alone in this," he said when she'd calmed down. "Not anymore." "I know, but it's still hard." "Yeah, it is." He kissed the top of her head. "But we're doing it together. That makes it bearable." "Does it? Ask me on a bad day and I'll say no. Ask me on a good day and I'll say yes. Today's somewhere in between." She laughed through tears. "I love you. I don't think I've said that yet." "You haven't." "I love you. You and your terrible jokes and your burned toast and the way you show up even when it's hard. I love all of it. I love you too. You and your controlled chaos and your 6-bite sandwiches and the way you care so much about everything, it sometimes breaks you. I love all of it." They stood there in the kitchen holding each other while Michael slept and Maya did homework in the other room and life continued its messy, imperfect march forward. And Ethan realized this was what showing up looked like. Not grand gestures or perfect solutions, just being present. Being willing to sit in the hard moments and not run. Being brave enough to choose love even when it came with complications. Maya asked him once what he'd learned from everything that happened. It was late at night, one of those conversations that happened in the dark, when kids felt safe asking big questions. "I learned that running from things doesn't make them easier," Ethan said. "It just makes you more alone when you face them anyway. I learned that the people who stay are more important than the people who leave. And I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is knock on a door when someone's crying instead of walking away." "Is that why you knocked on Olivia's door?" "Yeah, that's why." I'm glad you did. Because now we have a family. A weird one, but it's ours. Right? It is weird, but yeah, it's definitely ours. 2 years after that night in the office, Ethan proposed. Not in some elaborate romantic setting, but in the diner with terrible coffee and the waitress watching. Olivia said yes while crying and laughing at the same time. She ate her engagement at grilled cheese in exactly 6 bites and left the last one. Ethan ate it, and she didn't even protest. They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at Olivia's apartment. Maya was the flower girl. Michael officiated, reading his lines slowly but perfectly from a tablet because he'd insisted on being part of it. Patricia cried. The handful of friends who came said it was the most genuine wedding they'd ever attended. And it was. Because it wasn't about perfection or showing off or meeting anyone's expectations. It was about 2 people who'd found each other in the middle of their respective disasters and decided to build something new from the broken pieces. It was about choosing courage over comfort, about showing up and staying even when things got complicated, because that's what love actually was. Not the fairy tale version where everything worked out smoothly, but the messy, real version where you fought and struggled and sometimes cried in diners and sometimes wanted to give up. And then you chose not to give up. You chose to keep showing up. You chose each other over and over until the choosing became as natural as breathing. Ethan learned that lesson from Olivia and from Maya and from Michael and from his own mistakes with Jennifer. He learned that stability wasn't the same as happiness, that safety wasn't the same as fulfillment, that sometimes you had to risk everything to find the things that actually mattered. So when people asked him about his story, about how a facilities manager ended up married to a former CEO, he told them the truth. He told them about hearing someone cry and making the choice to not walk away, about terrible coffee and Thursday night conversations, about learning that the most important thing you can do for someone is simply be present, not fix them, not save them, just be there. And sometimes, if you're lucky and brave and willing to sit in the mess long enough, that presence becomes something bigger. It becomes trust, connection, love, family. Not perfect family, not easy family, but the kind of family that shows up for each other, the kind that stays even when leaving would be simpler, the kind that chooses each other every single day. That's what Ethan had built, what they'd all built together. A life that was complicated and chaotic and absolutely full. A life where hearts expanded instead of divided, where broken pieces found their place, where someone who'd spent years drowning alone finally learned what it felt like to have someone stay. And in the end, that was everything.